wages. So they hitting you with taxes, multiple taxes, because you paying tax off your check. You paying tax at the register. You paying another motherfucking tax on your house. You paying a tax on your car in order to drive on the roads. All these fucking taxes. 90% of your money is gone in taxes, but you don't see it. Who in the fuck is collecting the taxes? We don't collect taxes, right? We donate to our corporate jurisdiction based on the family bank's capability in order to maintain infrastructure, right? So it's going back to the family banks. We got to decentralize the money market. They blocking us out with central banks. We going back to family banks. All of the big mamas got to start finding the children in the family with entrepreneurial minds that know how to manage money and bring them together to form your family bank council. If you want to know about the family bank, I'm going to pull up this video so y'all can see what it looked like, so y'all can get the right one. But the family bank is going to be the way that we going to be doing. We going to cut out all this central bank shit. Right? Because once we cut them motherfuckers out, now we control our own destiny and our own fate. The title of it is How to Create a Family Bank. How to create a family bank. Right? You have to understand, like, I got a sister that's an accountant. She's a certified practicing, a CPA, certified practicing accountant. And, I got a cousin that's a certified hustler, PhD from motherfucking sidewalk psychology. But them are the two that my mama left in charge of the family bank, right? So when everybody get their shit back, my family, I already know in my family who my mama assigned these jobs to, right? Like, I got another cousin, he got murdered. His name was Man. He was supposed to be in charge of the family security, but he got murdered in Chicago in this gangbanging shit, right? But that's who was originally our chief of security for the family, right? Now that shit fall on me. I don't care. I will tell a motherfucker to shoot to kill, but that I can't get that order till Larry Hoover tell me we ain't brain banging no more. We done whoop their ass sufficient. Until I hear from Larry Hoover, I got to keep brain banging to get y'all to call forth the chiefs from the land, because they have to give us a report, a status report, like the State of the State address, right? They're going to give us what we would call it a State of the Tribes address. What is the condition of the tribes on the land? Are we sufficiently organized? Do we have sufficient structure in place to run our own system of government? We can't overthrow the enemy using the tools the enemy gave us to overthrow him. That's counterproductive to his position as the enemy. If you don't understand that, then you really need to sit down and wait and watch. When you don't know what to do, you be still and watch. Then when it comes to you what to do, you do everything in your part to assist your family in reclaiming their birthright.
Hi and welcome to my channel. Did you know that generational wealth typically lasts about 2 generations before the money is all spent? That was certainly the case with the Vanderbilt family, where Cornelius Vanderbilt made a fortune of $100 million in 1877 by building a railroad empire. That was more money than was held in the US Treasury at the time. But when 120 of his descendants had gathered in 1973, there were no millionaires among them. The Vanderbilt family is not the only example of this dissipation of wealth throughout the generations, but on the other side of things, we have the Rockefeller family, where they are on to the 6th generation, and the family is still on the Forbes 400 list of the wealthiest families in the country today, and the family's estimated net worth is around $11 billion. since John D. Rockefeller struck it rich in the oil business in 1916. Another great example of where a fortune was made and over the years it has survived is with the Phibbs family. The Phibbs name is not as recognizable as the Rockefeller's name, but Henry Phibbs was a business partner with Andrew Carnegie and the second largest shareholder in Carnegie Steel. So when Andrew Carnegie and his partners decided to sell the business in 1901, it is estimated that Henry Phibbs received $50 million from the sale, and the Phibbs family's estimated net worth today is somewhere around $6.6 billion, whereas again we see that the Carnegie's wealth sort of just dissipated over the years. So just as Cornelius Vanderbilt famously has said it himself, any fool can make a fortune, but it takes a man of brains to hold on to it after it is made. So what exactly makes the difference between the families who were able to hold on to their wealth throughout the generations and between those whose wealth just sort of dissipated over the years? In this video, I'm going to break down the intergenerational wealth system that was used and is used by the Rockefellers and the Phibbs family that has ensured that future generations won't squander inherited wealth so that it will last beyond the 2 generations, and that the fortune, as much as possible, is protected from taxes, lawsuits, and spendthrift heirs. If you're excited about this strategy, just be sure to like this video. And before we go on, I just want to insert a quick disclaimer that I am not a licensed financial advisor. So if you are interested in implementing any of these financial strategies that I share in any of my videos, just be sure to consult a competent financial professional, just because everybody's financial situation is unique and should be addressed on a case-by-case basis. And now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and break down this strategy. So I mentioned the Phibbs name a lot because I feel that the Phibbs family has kind of an interesting story. So after Henry Phibbs basically received his share of the money from the sale of Carnegie Steel, it is said that he kept half of it for himself and his wife to do whatever he wanted with it, and the other half he was going to leave for his kids. So in 1907, he set up a trust which was ran by a board of directors known as a family office, which later that trust became known as the Bessemer Trust. It is the same approach that the Rockefellers have taken, where they have set up a team of financial professionals, also known as the family office, to manage over their fortune. So there's a couple of key things that I have mentioned, so let's break them down. First is that you want to keep the money together. Do not divide it up amongst family members. What the Rockefellers and the Phibbs family have done is created a trust where they put the wealth in there, and that trust is going to act like a family bank. Just because you are part of the family does not necessarily entitle you to any money, because the initiator of the trust is going to create governing documents, which leads us into number 2. What those governing documents are is basically written mandates that govern the trust based off of values, philosophies, and principles which come from the person that initiates the trust. So a couple of common values that you may have is around entrepreneurship, family, health, education, home ownership. The trust could support funding those because that's something that you feel is important. And another great example of a governing document comes from the Phibbs family, and that is a letter that Henry Phibbs wrote to his son in hope of what the use of those assets would be that he left behind. And that letter's pretty inspiring, and it's on the Bessemer Trust website. This brings us into the third point, which is the family office. Basically, the family office is a board or team of financial professionals that manage the trust to direct how money can and cannot be spent. The family office is really important because they help avoid having losses and undue risk with the trust to ensure that money will be around for future generations. You can basically think of this family office as mentors to your family to ensure that your values, your knowledge, and your wisdom will be passed on to future generations. With this strategy of setting up a trust which acts like a bank, what this is going to accomplish is that you're not going to fall into that trap of giving your child so much that they don't do anything. Just as Warren Buffett has said, give a child so much that they can do anything, but not so much that they don't do nothing. So with setting up your bank, you're going to still create incentives for your children to maintain productivity in their own lives. So they can borrow from the family bank, but still have the responsibility of paying that money back with interest. So not only are they paying interest back to the family instead of a bank or a financial institution, but they also don't have that entitlement feeling growing from generation to generation. And if something was to happen where it just doesn't work out for them and they're unable to pay back the trust, this is the system that the Rockefellers have in place to ensure that the principle of the trust is protected so that the money is around for the next generation. Every time a new Rockefeller is born, the trust purchases permanent life insurance on that person. And there are nearly 200 Rockefellers alive today, and they are automatically plugged into this wealth system. So as soon as the beneficiary of the trust is born, the trust can take out high cash value whole life insurance policy for the maximum amount of insurance a company will offer on that person. That way, if a person is unable to pay back the family bank, as soon as they pass away, the DB will come back into the trust and replenish it tax-free. So when one generation utilizes the money, the permanent life insurance policies really do start to act as if contingency plans in replenishing the trust, which allows wealth to be passed down through the generations. So if the family office notices that someone is looking to misuse their privileges of having access to the family bank, there can be certain restrictions set up which can simply stop funding that person's life. I really do feel that this is such a powerful strategy because of foresight and a little bit of planning on your end. This can really change your family's legacy so that when your great-grandchildren face economic downturn, it is no longer a time of scarcity for them, but instead every economic downturn can turn to opportunity where they can grow the family's wealth and really help out others in a greater way because they have access to a family bank.